Where were you watching the game? Because you were, whenever I called you about some of the interceptions and nothing but field goals, I remember you saying that.
I wasn't watching the game.
Yeah. I meant listening, because you said you were listening. Were you in the car, or
no? I was
were
in the
you
kitchen.
Just in the kitchen chilling
out?
I
was in the kitchen making, I think, dinner, and I was listening to WDBE. I was watching the ESPN. I think it's ESPN. They have like a play-by-play, and you actually see the little film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watch that, and then listen to WDBE while I'm watching that, because I can get pretty much every game, except I can't get any games that are on Fox.
Well, I was doing shorts the previous night, so I was staying up till like 3 or 4 a.m. doing the shorts. And I woke up at like 12:30, and I was actually watching the shorts in my underwear. Or I was watching the game in my underwear, and I was jumping up and down.
Yeah, all I know is that
I was just like walking in my living room going, yeah, there's an interception.
Well,
I was just talking to you on my phone.
All I know is if it wasn't for Chris Boswell, we wouldn't even have scored a point. Which, I said that the Steelers were going to lose, and thank gosh they didn't lose. But offensively, we're still having struggles.
Are we, though?
I think
you think we are? Because I think that Arthur-Smith, he came out to say yesterday that he was purposely not aiming for the middle of the field. He specifically told Justin Fields, don't throw middle. And that was because the Falcons have some of the best safeties in the league. And that's something they have to consider. Their strong safety is Justin Simmons. He's a 4-time second-team All-Pro. And he was in 2 Pro Bowls. And in 2022, he led the NFL in interceptions. He was the co-leader. So he tied. And then you got the free safety, Jesse Bates III. He was a 2-time second-team All-Pro. And then he was also a Pro Bowler.
Okay.
So the Falcons was really good in the middle of the field, is what I gathered from here. So Arthur-Smith, I know we were talking about how the Falcons had some sort of advantage because Arthur-Smith used to be their head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But it probably also worked the other way around, because Arthur-Smith probably knew the players and how they played and their weaknesses. Probably, I guarantee you Arthur-Smith was playing smart.
Well, I think what it was is that we were thinking, they're going to know about Arthur-Smith.
Seems like the
other
way around.
Not one time did we mention that, Arthur-Smith is going to know the players as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to know them, and that never... I don't know why.
It never crossed our mind that it could work the other way around. And if anything, it seems like the coach would notice the players' weaknesses.
Well, Justin Fields did have a very nice pass to George Pickens.
He had 2 nice passes.
Yeah, but the one was really nice, but it was called back for the cornerback. I guess George Pickens pushed off him a little bit. They're trying to make that more.
That's literally how he did it.
They're trying to make that more than it was, meaning that other fans, Steeler fans, are like, "Oh, that wasn't a push off. That was like barely touched him." But if you looked at the play, I mean, I think it comes down to the referee whether or not he's going to throw a flag or not. And
he did a little push, hardly anything. And I know some people online saying, "Oh, they passed even worse push-offs than that." But a push-off's a push-off.
Yeah.
And, even though that was a penalty called, his hands were on him.
You can't push off to get separation. You just can't do that. And even if it was just a little bit. And some referees, they'll let that slide. Now, there was a play during that game, and this had to do with Watts. He was able to jump the ball, and time it perfectly.
Oh, the offsides or whatever?
Yeah.
By the way, that was the freaking bad call. I had to throw that because we have that brick there, so we just end up throwing the brick.
That was a horrible call. But of course, the officials who later admitted to Watt that they made an error on the call, threw a flag for offsides on Watt, and which visibly upset Watt. But he timed that perfectly. And as much as they,
he could
look at replay,
he could have had 3 sacks that game. Mm-hmm. 2 of them were flags. The one was that offsides, and then the second one was one of the cornerbacks or something ended up doing a face mask. And obviously the only sack he ended up getting was the last play.
Yeah.
So thank goodness, I was just watching the entire game and I'm like, where's that sack? He's waiting for it. Very end, he ends up taking a bow and I'm like, there it is. It was coming. There it is. I was waiting for it.
Well, and the thing is, even though he had that call that was negated, which is, a shame because that would have been another sack for him.
Yeah.
Watt finished the game with 4 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 3 QB hits, as well as a fumble recovery. Which
that fumble was completely on the offense. I don't know what they were.
His pressure also helped set up 2 interceptions, which is teammate snag from Kirk Cousins. So that, he still had a really good game.
And I told you last week.
Imagine if we didn't have him in there.
I told you last week. It's battle of defenses, right? And I knew that both defenses were pretty good. I didn't know that the Falcons ended up having 2 of the top safeties in the league or whatnot. But the Steelers' defense has always been good. Mm-hmm. And we just seen this past game that there could have been 4 sacks that entire game, because I believe that, I don't know who it was on the Steelers' defense, but there was another sack in there from somebody else. There could have been 4 sacks that game if everything was played out without the penalties. Yeah. I believe it would have been 4. That's really good. That's really good. And then the interceptions. It's the Steelers' defense. It's always been good, and it's only going to improve from here with Peyton Wilson. It seemed like Patrick Queen wasn't doing all that great. I feel like we can't judge everything on just one game. He probably had a bad start. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we get all these defensive players, and we honestly, like you mentioned last week, we have a lot of good free agent players that we have in the off season, and we have to get rid of some of very good players because our entire defense is just so packed. So we're just sitting here. We have too many good players on defense that we're getting rid of good players that would fit for any team that needs a defense in the NFL. But, you got any notes? Any other notes there?
Yeah, I have, of course, the star of the game. Do you know if he was MVP?
Chris Boswell?
Yeah.
He did end up winning the AFC Special Teams of the Week.
Okay.
So he was the top special teams player.
6 field goals, that's pretty amazing. And 6 of 6. And 3 of those. Now, you had mentioned during the week that he's the first Steeler.
I believe he was, from what I read, he was the first Steeler in history, in Steeler history, that had 3 completions of over 50-yard field goals made in one game.
Yeah, and so 2 of those,
yeah.
I mean, you got a 56 and a 57. You know, I remember there being a time.
Really good.
I remember there being a time for a kicker to kick over a 50-yard field goal was like, that was a pretty good...
An anomaly.
Yeah, it was a huge accomplishment. But I had mentioned last week that this game was indoors and there wouldn't be wind. You wouldn't have to deal with weather, which is great for the special teams and the kickers. But thank goodness, because if this game were outside...
Not to mention, Chris Boswell also ended up doing a punt. His first ever punt. That Cameron Johnson...
I mean, he's been with the Steelers. Chris Boswell's been with the Steelers how long? And the fact that this is his first punt, that's nuts.
Yeah, Cameron Johnson. He ended up getting injured. It was like a knee injury. And it was that play that there was a penalty on the Steelers. And I think it was Miles Killebrew. He ended up pushing one of the Falcons into the punter. And I was just thinking, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You know, and the Steelers ended up picking up a new punter, Corliss Waitman. He was a part of the Steelers for a short while, but they ended up picking him up again because the Cameron Johnson with the knee injury, he's out for the season. And we were just talking last week that Cameron Johnson was a really good punter, and he is. I thought he was a fantastic punter during the preseason, but it just stinks because we hardly had him, and we paid a pretty penny for him. I think he had a 3-year contract, $9 million. So $3 million per year for a punter. Like, dang.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But not too much else I want to talk about for the Atlanta game. Is there anything else you wanted to go over?
Well, there was 2 fumbles during the snap there. It was missed snaps on the Steelers, and I'm slowly siding towards it's Justin Fields' fault.
Well, I don't think our offensive line did terribly bad.
I think the center, Zach Frazier, I think he's really good, actually. I think he's the perfect center for the Steelers.
I mean, I thought we were going to have some difficulty with our offensive line.
They did a little bit better in the offseason.
But I also thought we were going to have difficulty with our secondary defense. In both areas, did a lot better than I thought they would.
Yeah, I always think that if the defense can hold another team around like 10 points, then the Steelers' defense did great. You know, only 2 points were made, a touchdown and then a field goal.
So this week we're heading to Denver.
Yeah. Another away game. Mm-hmm. I think the Steelers only had 1 home game, like starting home game, once in the past like 10 years or something. Like it was ridiculous. I don't know why they're always away.
This is Mile High Stadium.
Mile High Stadium?
Yeah, in Denver. So will that thinner air affect us?
No.
You don't think? I think
no.
Well, I think the kicks will go a lot farther.
Really?
But, oh yeah, I think they travel pretty good up there, unless of course there's wind or something like that. But thinner air.
I don't think the thinner air, because they also have oxygen tanks. You know, they feed people oxygen. I don't think that's got to be a problem at all.
Okay. I just always felt that Denver, that gives you an advantage because they're used to playing that. I mean, how often do we travel to Denver? Every 4 years?
Yeah. But I only watched the highlights for the Denver game, and the Denver's offense, it's not that good. I actually think it's worse than Atlanta. They got a new quarterback, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And I think Bo Nix was picked.
Well, that's what I have in my notes. I said our defense will be a mismatch for Denver's offense.
Yeah, and Bo Nix was pick number 12 in round 1. But
I thought you were going to say he was picked as far as interceptions.
Oh yeah, he was picked too. I think he threw 2 interceptions. In one of the interceptions from Bo Nix, he ended up throwing to. I looked at this and I'm like, what? What? Like, he ended up throwing into a man that was covered by 3 defensive players. And I'm like, why are you throwing in 3-man coverage? Like, Bo Nix, what are you doing? Like, he just threw away the ball. And it was really bad when I watched the highlights. It was, I'd hate to say it, but I kind of chuckled a little bit.
Well, I'm looking at the power rankings because I always do that going into the next game.
Oh, yeah, the power rankings. They're so true.
Yeah, well, I go off of the the ESPN power ranking.
They're all wrong.
Well, if you look at the NFL power ranking compared to the ESPN, NFL ranks the Steelers at 17. ESPN ranks us at number 11. Okay? So there's some teams ahead of us that actually lost. Okay? But yet they're ahead of us. Now
they look at the past season. But
Denver's ranked 30th.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
Well, and they weren't that great last year. And actually, this comes from ESPN.
Great to give us some enthusiasm. They weren't great last year, but we ended up getting Russell Wilson. I'm just messing with you.
That don't have anything to do. That a lot of that may not have anything to do with Russell Wilson. That may have to do with their offense, the rest of their offense. But this comes from ESPN. It says the new year, same Denver Broncos, bad decision making from the quarterback, and a vanilla offense forced the Broncos defense to try to come through with a win. Denver held the Seattle Seahawks to 25% third down success rate. And it generated 2 takeaways with 2 sacks. But they still ended up losing 26-20 loss.
Oh yeah, it was all defensive with Denver.
Yeah. So
they didn't do anything on offense. The only touchdown was from the quarterback.
But what I don't understand is that their defense is still ranked number 24, but it sounds like their defense did pretty good against Seattle. And Seattle's not a bad team. Well, they're not bad.
I think they're mid.
But still, I mean, being that Denver's offense didn't really do too much. Now, I didn't watch the game. You did. How was Denver's offense?
All I'll say is that it looked worse than Atlanta's. I don't think it looked all that great. It was worse than Atlanta's. And I don't know why teams do this with new quarterbacks, but they just throw them in there. It's like, don't you want to have, like, don't throw a brand new quarterback that was just picked in this past draft. Don't throw him right in. He doesn't know what to expect. You're just got to you're just got to push his confidence down if you throw him right in. I don't think it ever used to be like that, was it? Did they always put him?
You would always...
It's like they're desperate.
Yeah, you would always sit a...
I don't think Ben Roethlisberger was like that.
What, right into the game?
Yeah, was he?
He was in on his rookie year, but that was only because of an injury to Matt.
Yeah, like, you don't start him like right then and there.
He would have never started if Maddox wouldn't have got injured.
Yeah, and it's just they don't expect, because the preseason game's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing like the regular season. So they're playing this preseason thinking, oh, this isn't that bad. Then they jump into the regular season and they're like sweating.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's a good idea to throw in just any sort of first round quarterback.
Well, I think a lot of it now has to do with money. Because you know, players are paid so much now that teams want to get them out there playing and seeing how well they do, because you know they're gonna get these huge contracts. You know, they need to be able to get the players out there playing. I mean, if they're going to be paying these huge contracts, they want their players to play.
Yeah, like, for an example, look at Caleb Williams. He was on the Bears, and he was the first person picked in the draft. He played pretty bad this past game. And once again, it was all defense that carried.
Kirk Cousins didn't play that good, and look how much money they gave him.
All I'll say is that with the Steelers, how much they paid for their quarterbacks, it seems like they made a pretty wise decision.
Well, our Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and I know you don't put much in power rankings, they're ranked number 4, the defense.
Oh, yeah, I know they're good. I think their pass rush is number 1, or at least top 3. I think the Steelers defense is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even their backups are pretty good. So,
yeah, we really I think our first, going from preseason into the first week, we were ranked 8. So we now are ranked 4 on our defense, which is actually pretty good. So, who we think's going to win this?
Steelers. Once again, I think, considering the fact that the Denver Broncos don't have the top safeties, unlike the Atlanta Falcons. They have pretty good safeties. I think that we'll start seeing more throwing through the middle. I think we'll be seeing more middle throws, and I think that's going to heighten more of Arthur Smith's playbook. I feel like since Arthur Smith was the head coach for the Falcons, he knew more about them. Therefore, he had a lot more to prove and to just make sure to play very carefully. So I think after the Falcons game, he's going to open up his playbook, play how he does his playbook, how he normally plays. He'll throw more through the middle. He'll let Justin Fields, and I'm hoping Justin Fields does play, because I know Russell Wilson was more questionable because his calf injury and all that stuff. But I think he's got to let Justin Fields play more and all that stuff. And I just think the Denver Broncos, their offense looks worse. I think it looks worse than the Falcons. And
well, I just hope we don't go into this game overconfident.
That's another issue.
I hate, the Steelers have a way of losing games, and we talked about this last week, is that they lost 3 games last year that they should have won easily.
Yeah, and what was it? Cardinals, Patriots, and Colts this past year, and 2 of them were 2-10.
Yeah, 2 of the teams were 2-10. They ended up losing, and that's the thing. The Steelers always downplay to a team that they should easily win. Now, should they easily win in Denver? If our offense doesn't pick it up, okay, field goals are not going to win big games. Okay? We need to create touchdowns, and we're not doing that. And we haven't been doing this. And you can go into last year. How many quarters in a row did we play without a touchdown?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this Falcons game was just a one and done thing, because knowing our luck, I'm hoping that it would be, that this was just a special occasion where we just didn't manage to get a touchdown, because I know plenty of teams that end up playing an entire game and not score any touchdowns. and whatnot and still win. I just hope this is the oddball for us, and that next week we'll start seeing more complicated plays, much more of a drive downfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we'll see Jaylen Warren playing more. I don't think we've seen him play like maybe a quarter or something, or roughly like 15 minutes he was out there. Probably not even that. It didn't seem like they were playing him all that much.
Yeah,
And another thing is Roman Wilson. Will he play or will he not play? Because he had that ankle injury in training camp and whatnot whenever they were doing scrimmages and all that. And he was a full participant in, I think it was Thursday's practice. He was a full participant. Then today he was little participant. Like he participated a little bit. So I'm not sure if they want him in there for this upcoming game. Maybe they want him to sit out for this most recent practice so he can heal up to full potential. I don't know.
Well, put it this way, because I wanted to look this up. And this says right here on Steelers.com, Steelers had 13 receiving touchdowns in 2023. 13. Okay? Now,
how many did...
As bad as Russell Wilson was last year, they said he didn't play very well. Okay? He had 26 touchdowns.
Double. I knew he had a lot.
Okay, he had 26 touchdowns.
Yeah,
against our 13 for the entire.
You want to know what that tells me? The Steelers' defense is really good. I mean, 13 touchdowns and you're positive and you go into the playoffs. That doesn't happen.
Well, we won games last year, and everybody's like scratching their head on how we.
They find a way.
Yeah, they found a way last year.
They always find a way.
And it was really deceiving because we weren't that great. Our defenses, but I'm going to pick the Steelers for this week. But if we cannot score a touchdown, we will lose that game. But I'm confident.
I agree.
I'm confident that we can find the end zone this week. So I think that we will win that game, and it's going to come down to scoring a couple touchdowns. Because we're going to have, like you said, we'll probably utilize more Calvin Austin through the middle in there.
And I hate being the laughing stock in the league because I don't know if you look at social media and stuff, but people are like, the Steelers were one of the only teams in the league that ended up winning without a touchdown. And, it's just seeing that stuff kind of makes me just... I wouldn't say pissed, but seeing that stuff makes me look at the Steelers and say, "Come on, man, you don't want to accept that. You pick it up.
Yeah,
come on, Tomlin. Come on."
And that's why we're ranked number 17.
It's because we didn't get a touchdown.
I mean, Cincinnati's ahead of us. Okay,
they lost.
They lost, but they did more offensively.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention about the Broncos, I don't think I mentioned this, but they won all their preseason games. Guess what? They ended up losing the first week. So that just tells you that preseason does not matter. They won all the preseason games, ended up losing the first week.
Well, preseason, you're just playing,
and
you're just testing players.
Yeah, it's nothing more than just testing players. But it's, a lot of people get fed up in preseason. They get irritated. And I'm just like, relax. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't matter. They're just, if anything, I think more errors made in the preseason means you know who to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I think it comes with a positive. And one thing that I want to mention is who the other teams in our division are playing against. I don't think I said this. The Browns play the Jaguars. And then the Bengals, I believe, are playing against Kansas City Chiefs.
So there's another loss.
Yeah, it's basically another loss. And then the Ravens are playing the LA Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, well, they'll probably win.
Yeah,
that.
they'll probably win that one. But
plus they're playing in Baltimore, right? I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, Ravens going to be 1-1.
Maybe. I mean, you don't know.
No, they'll be 1-1.
We'll have to find out.
I don't hear too much good about the Raiders.
But I think the Steelers will go 2-0 for this one. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So
where's the Raiders power ranking at? Let me see.
I don't think they're that great. I mean, I think they're kind of average.
28.
They're 28?
Yeah. Yeah, they're 28th. I figured they weren't too great. Yeah, they're rebuilding. Just like a lot of teams are trying to rebuild.
I saw someone on YouTube mention that the Steelers should tank and just rebuild. And I'm thinking, like, why?
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Like, don't be that team that will constantly... Because you'll get rid of all your good players. You know, everyone will become a year older. Contracts. And you'll lose players' confidence.
Good players want to go to teams that have a chance of making it to the playoffs and beyond.
That's why teams like the Browns, Carolina, especially Carolina, no one wants to be on them. And that's why they haven't been good the last however many years. Century.
Yeah. But Steelers got to do something this year.
Yeah, we don't want to be that team that would just sink.
We've been mediocre for way too long. Okay. Anything else you want to go over? Because I don't have anything.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
But you want me to pray? Or?
Yeah, go ahead and pray. You wanted to pray for...
Yeah, I'll be praying for Tua and then Cameron Johnson. Lord, I pray that this upcoming week for the Steelers and all the other teams in the league, that they continuously travel and prevent any sort of serious injuries and protect them, Lord. And I want to pray for Cameron. And I just pray that his knee injury heals up good. I know that he is a very good punter, and I hope that doesn't affect his kicking ability, because I know the injury looked rather serious, Lord. And I also pray for Tua Tagovailoa, and is his third concussion, Lord. And I know that if things keep up, he can get serious brain trauma and just have all sorts of issues later on in life all of a sudden come up. And I just pray that you just continue to heal over him, and that everything into the future would just go your way, Lord. And I just pray that Tua just heals up fine. And I hope that whatever decision Tua makes will be all for safety. If he continues to play in the league, I just pray that he stays safe, and just make sure that you're just over him. And if he ends up retiring, that he feels rather peaceful and at peace that he is retiring, and he doesn't, get upset or whatever his decision, Lord. I just hope you can rest peace on him and have him feel a sort of feel confident in what he accomplished and everything, Lord. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, we'll see you next week, and let's go Steelers.
See ya.